So look, I have a very sober perspective about romance, which aligns to what you've just said. It has its place, and I love that you use the word build. If you've ever built anything, let's talk about building a house.
Yeah.
The most exciting and fantastical period is drawing it. The architectural designs. So nice, and then it's gonna look like this, and then the architect shows you the 3D designs. You're like, yo! Okay, let's go to the site.
Sure.
Let's go to the bricks. Let's go to the excavation. You discover that there's rock. Then you discover there's water. And now we need to do waterproofing. None of the architectural designs knew this is what's going to happen. Now we discover there's water. We have to do waterproofing under this thing. We can't even lay the foundation. Then we overcome that hurdle. And we've done that. And then it's brick by brick. Then it rains. And it rains for 5 months. Then it's COVID. And no one can go to the site.
Yeah.
And that is what building.
Sure.
Anything is building a business, building a relationship, it requires commitment, it requires resilience, it requires grit, it requires a whole lot of love.
The show is at Deny Your Life, and I'm Lungelo K. And firstly, I'd like to thank you guys that I actually forgot. A few weeks ago, we reached a beautiful milestone of 200,000 subscribers. That means 3 stadiums that we could fill up of people. That's not something small. Those are lives. Those are people with a purpose and a calling who've decided to connect to their purpose, their calling to what we do. So thank you so much. And if you're new, welcome. Where have you been? As I've said, there's over 200,000 people who are part of this engineers community. So click like, click subscribe, and make sure you enjoy this episode with us. We're the home of growth conversations. What does that mean? It means that the conversations, the guests that we have are intentionally chosen to change something in your life. If anything, even if it's 10 minutes that you're able to watch, please do, and make sure that you practically apply what we speak about today. And I don't know many people, I'll blow my own horn, who speak better English than me.
I love it.
I was the A student who did English home language, got the highest mark in the grade, got an A+ for English in matric. So I'm always like, my English.
Yeah.
And then I met Nizenande Machi. The eloquence, the intentionality when you speak blows me away.
Hello. How are you? We'll start with hello. That's universal.
Sure. Let's do this. Yes. How's your heart today?
Oh, my heart is glad. Yeah. My heart is very glad. I have joy. I'm full of love and gratitude in my heart as I am in this space. And you've welcomed me so warmly. Sure. So I'm looking forward to being here. And thank you for having me.
Sure, thank you so much. I love asking this question because a lot of people come on this platform to share that they are grateful, that they have gratitude. What does it take to consistently live in gratitude?
Sure, that's a big question, and it's an important one. I think there's lots of ways that people cultivate gratitude. I'll tell you 2 or 3 perhaps of mine is I believe in the wealth of creation. Like I believe that life is big and there's enough for all of us. And so if there's enough for all of us, what I already have, I can be grateful for. Sure. And so the first principle for me about generosity is about seeing what you already have and being grateful for it and saying it's good. It's to say, I'm so grateful to be here I'm so grateful for this lovely chair. I'm just being aware and conscious of what my eyes can see and saying this is good. The second thing that I cultivate is to help me with my gratitude is actually forgiveness. I know. It's one of the ways that I get robbed the most of understanding really the joy and the power and the beauty in my life. Because the ways that you hold grudges, the ways that you are angry, dissatisfied, discontented, often make it quite difficult to be grateful for what does exist. Sure. Because in gratitude or perhaps even resentment, anger, over-exaggerates its impact and weight in your life. It could be the smallest little thing, but it could throw your entire day off. Imagine your whole day being thrown off by one conversation. You've got maybe 10 hours to recover. Sure. In the day, let's say, but you spend those 10 hours remembering and meditating on that one bad thing that is now historical. So I try forgive quickly and I try forgive first. It's not easy, but it does me a weight of good and it frees me a lot.
You're saying to me that it's difficult for gratitude to exist in its highest form. And when I say gratitude, I would define it as identifying what is existing in your life and choosing to be positive about it. Because we could have things existing in our life and always see the bad in here. And I think that's a lack of gratitude. But you're saying to reach even higher levels of gratitude where it even brings peace into your heart, you need to forgive.
Absolutely. Because forgiveness is living, unforgiveness is living in the past. You have to meditate on the thing that someone wronged you about. You have to replay it in your mind often in order to hold that identity of you being wronged, you being a victim, you being hard done by, whatever it might be. And that, if that's what you are seeing in your mind's eye, how are you going to overcome and see what is actually in front of you and perceive and experience that? I found for myself that is very difficult. This year I have a motto / a word I'm standing by, which is don't look back. Because there's nothing for me behind me. There's nothing for me from yesterday, to be honest. Yesterday gave me all its gifts. And I said, I'm so grateful. And I said, I'm forgiving this person. And I said, wow, what a joy to have received this. What I carry into today is what it gave me. But to look back on yesterday as the best part of my life is robbing myself again of today's gifts. I can't look at yesterday and be remorseful or look at yesterday and think I got the best and still have capacity for today. I have to be here and I choose to be here. And forgiveness is one of the ways to let it go. And what I do want to add is part of being forgiving. If you're going to forgive anyway, you may as well make them account.
Sure.
If I know I'm going to forgive you, Lungelo, I may as well say to you, that really hurt me.
Yes.
And I didn't appreciate it.
Yes.
Don't do it again. Because I'm going to forgive you anyway. Whether you agree with that or it's really inconsequential to the reality that I'm going to find and narrate an internal story for myself that frees me to continue to live in the joy, the love, the power, the beauty, the generosity I have. And that's enough.
So as you are saying that the consequence of asking a person to account when you want to forgive them does not already influence whether you're going to forgive or not.
Yes.
It shouldn't influence whether you're going to forgive or not.
Yes.
Because if you let it depend on that, then you'll hardly forgive anyone because people are not very good in accounting.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's why we hardly forgive people.
Okay.
Because we assume that the accountability is meant to lead to a change of heart and a change of mind. No, it's for you to communicate the impact of what you've done, and to make a request. When you do this, it upsets me, Lungelo. do not do it again. It is now up to you to say, I am sorry. You might not. That might be a very difficult thing. You might come to your own defense. You might blow me off. You may say I'm over-exaggerating. There's so much that you are at liberty to do because you yourself are an independent person of me. And so if I'm waiting for an outcome from you that makes me forgive you, then again, I'm still depending on you for my joy and my gratitude and my forgiveness. Which then defeats the purpose of forgiveness being about closing things off and moving on without burdensome weight. I don't need it. It can stay with you.
I've heard people conversely say that holding a grudge against my deadbeat father, holding a grudge against my ex-husband fuels me to be a better person because I need to show them how great I can be. It fuels my success. Does that exist?
I'm not convinced. I know it exists in the sense that people do believe that, but I don't think you can start with a bad seed and yield good fruit. I don't think you can begin with anger, aggravation, resentment, pain, and yield joy, love, peace, prosperity, comfort, generosity. I think the seeds actually of what you are trying to yield, perhaps, which is an understanding of your power and your potential in the face of someone having undermined that. Because I think that's what someone's trying to communicate when they say, I'm going to show them. Is like, how can you fumble someone so amazing like me? You don't even know how good I'm about to get. I think that's the heart of it. We all have an understanding of our potential because we live with ourselves and we want people to endure and witness our becoming or coming into ourselves more and more. But sometimes that doesn't happen and it's not going to happen. I think instead of using aggravation to fuel your enablement and your I'll use power again, I think it's better to start with the thing that looks like what you are building. Forgiveness is one of them. I can't even fully, you can even use fear a little bit more than you can use anger or resentment. Because at least with fear communicates something that you desire but are overwhelmed by. Anger only is an emotion that's meant to help us understand and give information about something being wrong. So you would still have to see what is wrong here in order then to be fueled and unleashed into your potential. I don't perceive how it can be galvanized positively. And maybe there are people who live like that. I don't, such that I can't even imagine it. Makes sense?
It does, because as you explained, I'm thinking of the woman who says, I want my ex-husband to see how great I am. Now he put me in taxis. Now I've got a man who bought me a Range Rover, for example. Now I've got a man who put me in a big mansion in Izinga Estates, in Umhlanga, in Waterfall Estates, in Midrand. And Gifuna Bon, even the kids he left me with, this new man is taking care of them. And my problem with that is that, so when are you enjoying the mansion? What energy are you bringing to your new marriage? Why is this new person suffering at the behest of the pain that you have for your ex-husband?
And I'm going to even take it further and make it a little bit sharper because I agree with your sentiments. You are still living for your ex-husband. In that instance, you haven't given yourself permission to flourish without him. If he is still central to even your success, how successful can you truly perceive yourself to be internally? Because you're not free of him. You still are holding on to an identity of being his. And this is the thing about forgiveness and just living in your own power and authority and success. It requires a new identity. So in that instance, you still have not allowed yourself to let go of that old identity. Can you see the past coming up?
Yeah.
To let go of being his person, his wife, his partner, and discover yourself in your own identity. What does that look like? Or if you want to reattach now to this new identity of being this person's wife, what a sorrow to be living in your mansion and all you are thinking about in your mansion is, I wish this person could see me now. You have no capacity to buy your lovely flowers. You have no capacity to dream about the recipes you want to cook for the family you have or the parties you want to host in your beautiful home because you're reflecting on, I'm going to try see an opportunity where he sees me. I mean, really, it's worth. That's why people say, let it go.
Yeah.
Because, and it's not an easy process. It's a process that is slow and progressive. You know, forming a new identity, I've been reading about the snake. I was reading an article and someone wrote a beautiful piece that they sent to me personally about shedding and how forming a new identity is not this big overhaul. It's very similar to a snake when it sheds its skin. When a snake sheds its skin, there's like, so I've been reading about it, there's a layer of, call it, it's a mucus / liquidy substance
Sure.
that comes in between the old skin and the new skin to start doing the separation. And then once the separation is far enough, the snake sheds from its nose. So it first rubs its nose, that cracks, and it slowly comes out of its skin.
Sure.
It's not a throw it all away. No, slowly it's shimmying its way out of this structure.
Process.
That it's a process.
Yeah.
And it starts as small as the tip of your nose. It starts as small as you saying, in my old house, I used to buy roses. In my new house, I'm going to buy marigolds, whatever.
Yes.
Because you love flowers.
Yes.
And whatever it might be that allows you to shed the weight of the old. Forgiveness is also not transactional only. You can forgive, but you also have to keep forgiving at times because of that process work. If you can live in the discomfort of coming out slowly but surely, then you will come out and you will have forgiven, and then it's really done.
In landing on this forgiveness aspect of our conversation, for example, let's say you and I have an appointment.
Okay.
And we must meet at 8 in the morning, and I arrive at 8:15.
Yes.
I arrive. Oh, Niz, I got stuck in traffic. So sorry.
Yes.
I promise myself every day that I'm going to eat 1,500 grams of calories only.
Yes.
And I ate 2,000. I sleep and I move on from it. I promise myself that every day I'm going to wake up and pray at 7 in the morning. And then I don't do it that way. I promise myself that I'm going to speak to my parents at least once a week and have a good long conversation with them. I promise myself that I'm going to write a gratitude journal, and I don't do it. I promise myself that I'm going to start a degree and I stop in the middle, and I still move on with life. So what am I doing here? I'm constantly forgiving myself without batting twice with forgiving myself.
Yes.
Why are we not so quick to forgive other people then if we are constantly failing ourselves, but other people, we judge them, we are mean to them on social media, we put their mistakes on a pedestal, we just take forever to be kind to other people?
It's interesting. I have a different perspective about what you've shared. I think part of the reason we continue to let ourselves down, opposite to what you've said, is that we struggle to forgive ourselves. So the way we treat other people is because we treat ourselves that way. Remember what I said at the start? I said one of the ways you know you are truly forgiving is if you can make someone account. And more often than not, we struggle to make ourselves account to ourselves. Remember I said forgive, and preferably you first, me first. We struggle to make ourselves account. If I am constantly letting myself down, letting yourself down normally is imperfection. We do that. We are not perfect people. Part of us being in relationship with others is an expression of the relationship we are in with ourselves. And so because we let ourselves down, we'll let other people down. And that's what grace relationship allows for us. It's a buffer and even acceptance. But where you are constantly doing that, for me, that's an indicator of not being able to hold yourself accountable. Why am I constantly not doing the hard things I say I'm going to do? Why am I constantly not meeting the demands of my own progress, as I have set them for myself? We weren't there, Lungelo, when you said you're going to phone your mom every week.
Sure.
And yet six months has gone by and you haven't phoned not even 1 week. The first question I would ask is, what are you asking yourself? What conversation are you having with yourself? And because of our avoidance, we become quite self-berating. I think we reflect that on others. That's why we take so long to forgive. I think we take long to forgive ourselves because we don't know how to hold ourselves accountable. Remember, accountability is you must take stock of how you ended up at that action. What got me there? That's some difficult work for a lot of us to say. Part of what gets me to not sticking to my diet is actually a deep anxiety about the reality of what it means to become the person who eats well.
Sure.
Am I willing to be a matcha girl? There's so much judgment, there's so much stigma. Can I allow myself to be the person that does that kind of thing? That could be one version of understanding what's happening in you internally. Another version is your self-talk. You may be saying to yourself, oh, I've never done it. It's not going to happen. I always do this, but I never stick to it, or whatever it might be. And so again, because that is the internal process that we are struggling to come to terms with when we account to ourselves. And come to terms means we don't know where to land once we have that information. So now I know I don't feel worthy of that new identity. And I know that I don't know how to be this person that I yearn for. We often don't then know where to take that information and put it in an environment that still allows us to self-accept, and continue and show up for ourselves. That gap between putting your foot down is often covered by negative self-talk and self-hate and self-loathing and self-sabotage. And that can happen so far in our minds that we start to project it on others. That's why we are projecting. I have a theory that it's not possible for you to do to someone else that is not already existing internally in you. You've practiced it. So often when someone has a very bad response immediately, I'm always like, geez, I wonder what the internal ecosystem of your thoughts is. Because for that, there's language that just doesn't come out of my mouth.
Correct.
It's not accessible to me. Like even now, when I said anger, I don't even know the mechanization of arriving at that kind of solution. I don't think that way. My internal narration of life, even to myself, doesn't sound like that. So I can't fully perceive how you would arrive there. And it's the same with someone who does arrive there. Hey, how are you? And you have a bad answer. It means that's what you are meditating on often. And that's the internal environment in which you are operating. And I feel sorry for you, and I wish you would be free of that kind of pain, anger, resentment, shame, dissatisfaction. Forgive and move on.
I'm going to get into something that affects or impacts a lot of who we are.
Yes.
Relationships.
Yes.
And you can decide where you take it: platonic, romantic, friendships, siblings. A lot of who we are and who we become as human beings is dependent, unfortunately sometimes, on the relationships that we either choose to be in or life presents to us, right? And I am of the opinion, I feel like women are doing the work at the moment, but I'm of the
Mostly.
opinion that culture, religion, societal norms, indoctrination of the
Yes.
mind has put so much pressure on women to present themselves as
Yes.
wanting to be chosen by a man
Oh,
specifically, either through a committed long-term relationship or a marriage, but something that looks like that. I need to present as chosen. Yes, I've mentioned the culture, the religion, and what's so not, but internally as a woman, where does that come from? And how do I free myself from wanting to attach my self-esteem to being chosen by a man?
That's such a big one, and it's such an important one. And I'll see where I draw from, because I have this conversation everywhere, even with my own husband. The reality of how a woman is socialized, even from being a young girl, is deeply permissive. So here's what I need you to understand when I say that. If then, or once then, Nizenande, once you finish this whatever, then you can get round to doing what it is that you want to do, whatever that might be. So there's a lot of first duty, then joy.
Sure.
First obligation, then desire.
Sure.
First responsibility, then pleasure. So a lot of us are trained to put by the wayside, or in the pecking order, or in the priority list, a little further the things we want behind ticking the things we are responsible for. Now, once you've ticked the thing you're responsible for, there's someone that you turn to who says, now you have permission for the pleasure. Now you have permission for the desire, right? We take that and it is so subconscious. And a lot of it is enforced in domestication as women. Once you've cleaned this house, then you can relax. We know that. That's the language we know. Not, which is interesting to our male counterparts, not once you are ready and you've eaten breakfast, I want us to go and.
Sure.
So once you've done the things you desire to do,
Sure.
let's. For us is, once you've done the thing you need to do, then you can. And the person who gives you that then is the person who allows it and gives you that permission. So there's a very internal language we all have, every woman, and every woman is going to have to confront it in themselves, especially when it comes to men, where once I've shown all of these things, then he will be this kind of man to me. In some of the most basic things, in my cooking, yeah, you know, you're a cook. Now, once he's seen how good a cook you are,
Sure.
then he's definitely going to marry you. Whatever is the thing that you then get to have as the desire. And it is in the smallest as well as the biggest things. That's why I'm a big supporter, especially where it holds weight and is valuable and is substantive, not just in form, of women using the language, give yourself permission. Permit yourself up front for the desirable thing. It doesn't have to sit on the back of something else that is required of you. And I think that's where the breakdown. Remember also, a lot of young girls have been socialized around men and marriage. We've been socialized around being liked by a man. And because once you're liked by a man, it confers that you now are permitted to do all those other things that you want. What is interesting, and it's a conversation, I guess I'll land it here, I was having with my husband recently, was if there's something I would want to scream from the mountaintop once I have better clarity about. I have a feeling about it now and a movement in my body and my heart and mind about it. But the language to articulate it will form over time. But it's this thing that a lot of the time we then make this permission a moving target. So once you do this, then he marries you, but then he has married you, and you start to create new ways for him to permit you to be all you are.
Sure.
And it leads to a lot of frustration, I think, in long-term relationships as well as marriage relationships, because all the while, this, let's use domestication. You're washing dishes. I hate washing the dishes. I don't wash dishes. Ironing is even worse. Let's use ironing. I can live with dishes to some degree. But once I've ironed and the shirt is crisp, then he's going to say, don't iron. Do you know what he does? He says, thank you so much. What a great shirt. It's so awesome. So there's this mismatch of this woman constantly waiting to be released to do other to this man who is constantly grateful and confused about this person's dissatisfaction about your gratitude. So we've been told we'll get permission, and men have been told you get to say well done. If you're a good man, you acknowledge what's going on and you say well done. But you're never permitting me. He's never going to permit you. It's not what he's been socialized to do. It's not what's going to happen in actual fact. That's why permit yourself at the start and then just realize it's your life. There's no real need for it to even be a permissive structure at all. But it's okay. At some point you first start with, I like starting small. You don't start where you want to end up.
Yeah.
And so start with giving yourself permission to, and you'll realize that it was never on the cards for men to permit you anyway. And that's why we are so frustrated, because they weren't they weren't taught, once she does this, then you must allow her to stop doing it. No, you were taught, when she does this, you must be able to identify. Be a good guy and say, be grateful, say thank you. Then it never comes.
From the perspective of a person who's been married for long, like you have.
Yes.
How many years now?
15.
15 years
year.
You've been married.
Yes.
Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. Joyfully also. Not
That's
without
so
its
important.
challenges, but joyfully.
So important.
Yes.
And I'm going there. How do you navigate being a modern woman that's ever evolving?
Yes.
And now, with how quickly things are evolving, I'd say technology, the internet is a huge contributor.
Yes.
Democracy, a lot of transitions happened in our generation. How much of this, how much of you have you been have to adapt with each evolution in your marriage to remain joyfully married?
Yes. You know, I'm learning, and I probably won't stop learning. I'm getting better at the knowledge of it. The same way I've moved from 1 + 1 to X + Y, kind of better, more complex and layered and sophisticated in my understanding, but learning nonetheless. I'm learning that a lot of relational success is learning how to steward transitions well. Because a lot of the transition is the hard place. Believe people, whether they're in a marriage relationship, a long-term relationship that is dating, when they say, we've been so good for so long, and now that it's as if there's a transition now. Things are changing. And when things are changing, we are changing. And a lot of the time when we are changing, we don't take the time to reintroduce ourselves to one another. We don't take the time to also get honest about what we want and don't want, can tolerate or not tolerate, and will not do anymore. One of the language we use, or languagings we use in our home, is to say that person doesn't exist anymore. That it's not even that person died. It's not from aggravation. It's whatever was the train of thought. It doesn't fully exist. We've gone from X + Y to X² + 2X. The whole equation is just not the same at all.
Sure.
Yes, it may have the essence of its origination, but it's so new that we need to adjust and adapt to this newness. And that is what I call stewarding that transition. That process can take a very long time, Lungelo. I think if we understood that patience is a big part of the relations we form, we would give ourselves a lot more time. You know, for example, And I'm just so grateful for the people we've received counsel from, because they built that into us early on, even in the hardest periods. For example, one of the best advice we ever got is, okay, before we started having kids, we shared with our leaders and mentors at the time to say we want to now start having children. And we went on a process of kind of pre-child counseling, if you want to call it that, and what changes. And it was such powerful work that we were given access to, to help us frame our minds the right way. And then one of the most important things that I just don't forget was, look, it may test your marriage deeply. Whoopsie. It may test your marriage quite deeply. And one of the most important things you are going to have to do is commit to not separating while children are under the age of 3. That was such an honest request from people who've been married for 40 years, I think, at the time. They said, having children, it can be so hard. You are sleep deprived. Your money has gone null and void because you went from having to now having a third person who requires so much. Your relational intimacy is so limited because you go from looking at each other to looking at something else. So you spend a lot more shoulder to shoulder time and less face to face connection time. So you are going to become quite disconnected, very busy, very overwhelmed, all your grounding principles. And it can carry on for up to 3 years. They said up until the end of potty training and some good night's sleep. Make the decision that we are not going to get divorced. It was so sobering because it got so hard for the very reasons they mentioned that you think, I know my marriage really has changed now.
Yes.
How? And then a person sleeps through the night. Then you have your first date night and you're like, no, they were on to something here. So it requires that level of sobriety and honesty in you, right? And it requires that level of understanding who you are, where you're going, and what you are building towards. Yeah. I'm going to switch this off.
Sure.
So. Yeah, let's make it on airplane mode. I thought I did. Sorry, guys. Yes.
No stress. It brings me to this point that you're saying that it might sound counterproductive, but there are almost elements of you have to neglect the fairy tale marriage element when you are building an actual family.
Yes.
Because family goes beyond the fairy tale.
Yes.
It goes beyond the romance element. And in fact, in your case, where you did have years doing the romance, so it's like, come on, we know we can do it.
We've done this.
Yeah, we've done this.
Yes.
But this period, this season of suffering will bear fruit.
Yes.
Because the word of God says suffering bears fruit.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I like that. So look, I have a very sober perspective about romance, which aligns to what you've just said. It has its place, and I love that you use the word build. If you've ever built anything, let's talk about building a house.
Yeah.
The most exciting and fantastical period is drawing it. The architectural designs. So nice. And then it's going to look like this. And then the architect shows you the 3D designs. You're like, yo. Okay, let's go to the site.
Sure.
Let's go to the bricks. Let's go to the excavation. You discover that there's rock. Then you discover there's water. And now we need to do waterproofing. None of the architectural designs knew this is what's going to happen. Now we discover there's water. We have to do waterproofing under this thing. We can't even lay the foundation. Then we overcome that hurdle. And we've done that. And then it's brick by brick. Then it rains. And it rains for 5 months. Then it's COVID. And no one can go to the site.
Yeah.
And that is what building.
Sure.
Anything is building a business, building a relationship, it requires commitment, it requires resilience, it requires grit, it requires a whole lot of love, a whole lot of honesty. And I think a lot of people are building their lives on stilts. They are building, and it breaks my heart, to be honest, more than I am inclined to judge, because everything will be tested. Everything in this life will be tested. There is no house built on stick that won't at least be tested by the wind. There is no house that you build that won't be tested by rain, right? There is no business that you build that won't be tested by a dry season. It's just, you would have to convince me that life doesn't work that way. And I would be quite unconvinced. Anyone who tells you it's all amazing is dishonest. And part of that pre-child, that this was probably premarital, but also a principle I've taken in the rest of my life. I don't take advice or counsel from people who are untested. I just don't.
Sure. I don't take advice or counsel from people who are untested.
I don't.
Yeah.
And by untested, every person in the first year, outside of those who are going in through the test in that time, thinks their marriage is the best to have ever existed, or their boyfriend and girlfriend is the best in life. And the truth is they probably are, but let's discover their weight, the worth of their weight in gold. That is the only reason we are tested. We're not tested because things are evil. Think of school. Testing you in school was to clean for you your level of understanding. Because without the test, you think you're smart. You think I've understood this thing. You think I can apply it in different settings. You write the test and you come out with a 50% result. And you're like, yes, I thought I understood.
Sure.
Because you wrote thinking you understood.
Sure.
And so the test shows you the places where you still have to learn. And you still have to grow. And that's why tested people are just richer. They are riper. They have better feedback for you. Some of the best tutors when I was in varsity were people who failed that course because they know the ways.
And over again.
Exactly.
Yes,
they know the ways that you fell into that pitfall. They say, I know that one. This one, it's because you thought like this. No, let me show you. It's because they've been tested. And I'm not saying you must only be tested and you must be tested in everything. No. But a lot of the time, the ripest, richest, most mature and profound counsel comes from those who have an understanding, preferably experientially, but it doesn't always have to be, of what it is that you're traversing. Because they stand on the other side and they say, you can come out. You can come out of this circumstance in your business. You can come out of the circumstance in your relationship. And I know it's super hard and painful, but look, I have a scar. I know, trust me. I have the evidence to show, and here I am. And I believe people who want to stay in loving relationships need that kind of network of people. If you don't want to, it's very different. But if you do want to remain, if you see the value, the joy, the beauty, the gratitude, the generosity, and the wealth of this, it is important that you don't allow yourself to perceive pain, struggle, tough, lean years. Vows say through thick and thin. It will be thick and it will be thin. There are some lean years. And there are even some fat years, which are not necessarily good for you either, right? But if you can withstand all those seasons and tests, you come out with so much weight that doesn't rely on romance. It doesn't rely on the fairy tale. The fairy tale almost becomes practical. I used to dream about one day taking my kids to Disneyland. I am excited that I will, because I am building a life that can.
Sure.
It's a very different headspace. I don't daydream about it. I check how far we are in progress.
Got you.
To doing it.
Yeah. You made the analogy of building a house and the tests that come with that. You made the analogy that building a business, building a career, someone out there has an exam and it failed. Someone out there has an interview that they went to and they thought they aced that interview. They're getting that job, finally financial freedom. They are going to leave poverty behind. Someone out there went to an audition, a screen test, and they thought, this is the TV gig I've always wanted, or this is the acting gig I've always wanted.
Sure.
And it still didn't come about. And they're like, but this is my third job interview, or this is my 17th audition.
Sure.
Are you saying that they are still being tested, but they are failing to realize that they're not as competent as they are?
No, not necessarily. So I don't want to conflate everything into one principle when there may be many principles at play.
Sure.
So one principle is exactly that of the test in life. And the test is for your learning, for you to understand. Let me take it one step back. If you can understand that failure is part of success, you'll relate to it fundamentally differently because it is meant to be information about the outcome. So I got the test and I was found wanting.
Aha.
And so then what are the things that I can build?
Sure.
So that's one principle. There's another principle that I live by, is that life is just not fair. And in this life, there is trials. We all go through pain. Not all of it is particularly personal.
Okay.
It's just sometimes your turn.
Okay.
And it's tough.
Yeah.
Because we really want life. We want so much to live in perfection that we even forget that right down to creation is imperfect. So it is going to fail us even and of itself. The same way the weather forecast says sunny and then it rains is a disappointment to you. It's the same with life in general. So there's also externalities that are happening to you that indeed you can still use to learn, but it mustn't be, I am doing something wrong, that is why it is happening to me. No, things in life happen, and sometimes they are also really hard. Now, what you can allow yourself to perceive is the opportunity of things happening. I often say, if you've done it by your own strength thrice, you've applied for that job 3 times, you were rejected 3 times, ask for help. Speak to someone. Speak to someone who is employed. Have a look at my CV. These are the things I sent. These are the things I said. Have a mock interview with me.
I got you.
Is there something I am missing?
Yeah.
Because if you move all by yourself to the 17th iteration, we are going back now to that self-loathing, self-sabotage, that internal languaging that isn't allowing you to self-accept, that isn't allowing you to grow, learn, forgive, and move on. It's going to keep you stuck in the past of the failed interviews rather than progressing to the potential and opportunity of new ones, new ways, new understanding and approaches of getting a job even, I don't know, right? There's so many options. It's the same, it then becomes, maybe it's important for me to say this. I don't exist in a world, Lungelo, where I am so internally inadequate and disempowered that there is nothing I can do. And that's not to negate the systemic realities of disempowerment, environmental. I'm not saying you not having a job is your fault. Never. I don't believe that at all. What I am speaking to is, for as long as I have love around me, and as long as I have a real sense of belief, even if it's not love, people, no man is an island, and I have a real sense of belief that while I'm alive, something can change. Something must change. I think that's how obstinate I am. And it's a real sense of owning your life, a real sense of ownership. It's a real sense of engineering your life, which is what you stand for. It's if you can understand the machinery and the pulleys and the gears and the levers that move things in yourself in order to then express it outside of yourself. There is so much you can do and you can build. But you must have boundary lines. Like I say, for me, one of them is if I do something thrice and it's not working.
It's time to consult.
It means I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't have the answer.
Sure.
And I don't need to have the answer. Someone else does.
Yeah.
Because someone is already living in the reality I'm working towards. Someone is already employed. Do you understand what I mean? If my business is struggling financially for more than 3 to 6 months without clarity, 6 months is long, 3 months, right? Without clarity, I have to ask somebody to say, what am I not understanding?
Yeah.
Yes, the top line looks nice in the books, but I never have cash. You've got a cash management problem.
Sure.
And that is a real problem because when the financial statements are read, it looks like you made so much money, but you lived like a pauper the whole time.
Yeah.
Someone knows how to overcome that. Learn. Come under the learning of that thing. We waste so much time berating ourselves, getting angry at ourselves for the things that we don't know. That if we reached out for help, we could start to focus on the things that we do know and are good at and really apply ourselves in those areas while getting an understanding how to build. I don't know how to start a podcast, but my goodness, I am going to ask for people the day I ever decide to.
Sure.
Here you are.
Yeah.
It doesn't even stress me to need to know if I ever choose to do that. There are so many. There is you.
Yeah.
I don't have sleepless nights saying, what's wrong with me? Why don't I know how to?
Yeah.
No, he knows.
Yeah.
Lungelo knows. Trust me, he's done it for years.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So one of the hardest things we're going to learn in our, and I use this language, self-acceptance, but in our work of being self-accepting, of being purposeful, is understanding how to get over ourselves quick and get on with the things we are building even quicker, basically.
We're nearing the end of our conversation, but before we get there, I know. Before we get there, why do so many of us struggle with understanding what our purpose is in life?
Because it's a question we think exists outside of us. We think the answer is outside of us. And truly the answer is enabled through us. Okay, I'm going to explain. There's a Mark Twain quote I like, prolific writer, and he says, two of the most important days in your life, I'm paraphrasing, are the day you are born and the day you find out why. Purpose sits at the day you find out why. Because identity is I exist. Purpose is this is why I exist. To enable, do, become, be this. Because identity is be and purpose is do. Because you are. An example I like to use about the relationship between the two. The purpose, the identity of a kettle is a kettle. It's its name, but you can't almost separate it being a kettle from what it does, which is to boil water.
Yeah.
Right? And can you see the relationship? It's two sides of a coin almost, identity, purpose. The challenge is many of us, at least from my observation, believe that my purpose must be conferred, firstly, by somebody else outside of me, and someone is going to tell me why I exist, rather than I'm going to do the work of looking at the evidence of what I have done and conclude that there's something here that is pointing me to my purpose. Because there's evidence of what you are able to produce. It would be strange for a kettle after boiling cups and cups of water, and it's looking at the cups of water, to conclude it's a stove.
Sure.
That's its purpose. Its purpose is to cook food and be frustrated that all it has is cups in front of it. But there are so many of us who are doing that. Part of the barriers, to come back to the question about why it's hard for us to understand our purpose, is we may have attached value judgment to our purpose. I should be more than just this. We also have desires that may not align, or we don't yet understand how our purpose can enable them, right? And so we want to reject it. Or we've assigned value to what we think it should be. For example, some of us have long-standing evidence of hosting very meaningful conversations with people. We know how to get people to be inspired and mobilized, to forgive themselves, forgive others, and get on with their lives. We have long evidence from when we were small.
Sure.
Our best friends used to come talk to us.
Sure.
Tell me why, when we are older, or this is even a rhetorical question, this is how we arrive at then saying, no, that my purpose can't be to help people feel good enough about themselves to do something about their lives. It has to be that I'm an accountant. It has to be. It's not possible. You feel so ashamed. You feel it's minor. You feel, and I'm so grateful now for the way the world is progressing, for its good and its bad, but mostly when I look at the good, because there's so many variations of people's purpose being expressed.
Got you. Yeah.
That you can, there was a time all you could be if you've baked goods is a baker. Now you can be at a restaurant. Now you can host a baking show. Now there's so many expressions of you being a good cook as an expression of love to community. Because ultimately that may be what God has purposed in you, is what you need to do is spread a lot of love in the world. How it finds expression, we will see from the fruit that already exists around you.
Yeah.
For me, I care a lot about people. How it's found expression is through leadership development, because I care about people who move the needle. And so I found that my frustration is, no man, these people who lead are often the ones who make it hard for others to lead like them, for others to build their lives for. So if I can get this leader to perceive the weight of their world, their work, their words on other people, the impact, the ways they unlock value, the ways, then I'll have less leaders in meetings who say nothing from my side, and more leaders who enable other leaders and who advance the world to become more influential, bigger than what it is. And so did I know that as that language? No. But I knew I have a way to appeal to the hearts of people so they can do something about their own lives, not mine, their own lives. It took a long time to make that enough as a person who studied finance and accounting, and to say, this is not going to be easy for me to express myself particularly well. Not because I have a preference for ease, but when you look at, for example, the chartered accountant journey, you spent 3 years as an auditor. I was not going to interact with people. I did, what is that thing? Job shadowing. I fell asleep. That was an indicator for me that, Nizenande, this is not going to be a place where you can self-express. So if we can start to perceive purpose as self-expression, what starts to change in us? What starts to grow in our own language, rather than I must go and find my purpose? What about you sit and you take stock of the places where you've had the most impact, where you've moved the needle the most, where you've mobilized other people to a different sense of capacity and power? Because if you take stock of that evidence, what it's going to show you is, hey, perhaps why I exist is this, that, and the other. And then you can be wrong, but test it out. Because purpose is the doing part of the being. It's the boiling of the water by the kettle. And so you can't come into it unless you try whatever you land at out. Do it. Try yourself out.
Nizenande Machi, what's that one thing in life you know for sure and you're absolutely certain of?
Oh, that's such an easy answer for me. That God exists. I am, what it frees me to perceive and know and believe is that I can. There is nothing that I have purposed and resolved in my heart that I do not believe will come to pass. There is absolutely nothing. And people then say, you're so bold, you're so courageous. I forget, because I'm so sure that is what, if God is sure, then I am definitely sure too. And whatever has been purposed in and through me will come to pass. It's just a matter of time. It's taught me to be patient. It's taught me to be very peaceful and restful, and to move at my pace, in my way, in the things that I desire, because it's only a matter of time and circumstance.
I'm watching Engineer Your Life, and I didn't have enough of Nizenande Machi's intellect, coaching skills, ability to transform lives.
Yes.
Where do I get more?
Okay, so I am on, let me say this, the best experience of me is in person. So I am creating also capacity to get more in person in my life. But I am on Instagram at Nizenande Machi. Follow. We've got some work in the pipeline to be making more available in that way. I am very active on LinkedIn as a leadership development practitioner. I am available at Karani Leadership, which is one of my organizations, but the main organization that you interact with me through. So you can email info@karanilleadership.com and someone will be able to respond to you. And I think and a lot of people find me in their workplaces. The chances are high. Yeah. You will meet me, someone advocate for me, I'll be there, we'll do some good work for you.
Thank you, Sis Niz, as I like to call you. It's been an absolute privilege.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are a better community because of people like you.
Sure. Thank you.
The show is Engineer Your Life, and I'm Lungelo. I promised you that we're going to have a good conversation that will transform how you think about yourself, the decisions that you can take about how you want to lead your life moving forward. Remember, we're all leaders in one capacity or another. So make sure that as you lead yourself and you lead others, you do it with more intention and take decisions that are aligned with your purpose. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Please visit EYLshop.africa. You'll see there's something amazing that's got to do with our Young Leaders Connect event on the 1st of May 2026 at BMW Belita. Also, you get to nominate the top 10 young leaders of the year, specifically chosen by the community at Engineer Your Life. So don't forget, it's EYLshop.africa. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye.